Oh, the holidays. I am going to share my menu this year and how I plan ahead so that Thanksgiving Day is not a frantic mess and you, as the chef, get to have fun, enjoy making everything, enjoy your guests, and also know that you are feeding not only yourself and your family, but all your friends great, wholesome, nutritious foods. Now, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because over the course of the month, I'm going to be sharing with you my healthy habit hacks, how I've taken one of my favorite cookbooks and recipes and I've converted those into healthier options, gluten-free, not nearly as high glycemic as so many of the other things, sugar alternatives and sugar-free without chemicals, dairy-free, and a lot of different swaps. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you over the course of the next month. So you want to make sure that you're subscribed. And leave me a comment below if you have something specific you'd like me to work with. And you can always contact me, Jackie at lowertoxiclife.com, if you have a recipe that you'd like to have me convert for you. All right. So a lot of this is done, again, in the flavor of fully enjoying our holidays while we protect our waistline, our metabolic health, and we survive and thrive through the holiday season. All right, so today we're going to talk about the menu. We're going to talk about my month-long preparation, and I'm going to share with you kind of how restaurants do it. Basically, they plan ahead. They know what's coming. They have a basic idea of how many people they'll serve. They cook ahead, they freeze, they thaw, and then they serve. And that's how they beautifully pull off serving dozens and dozens of turkeys in some cases, especially when you're talking about a Marriott style chain or something along those lines. So I'm going to start with what I'm serving. Now, I have guests coming, and so some of this may get swapped out as my neighbors and friends and family sign up, if you will, to bring specific items. But I'm got my menu planned as if I'm doing it all. Now, am I going to hold their feet to the fire if somebody wants to bring roasted Brussels sprouts instead of my green beans or something like that? No, I'm going to be super easy, but I love to have my menu planned. And this is what I would plan if I were serving just my own small family or something along those lines. First of all, the main course. Turkey, of course, roasted turkey, mashed potatoes. I'll be doing a balsamic glaze also on my turkey. Mashed potatoes, wild rice, sausage, stuffing. Sausage is optional, but my family and friends love it. Gravy, of course, which will be gluten-free, and I'll be sharing with you how to make it ahead of time so that you don't have that last minute crunch trying to pull everything together and feeling frantic that this is getting cold and this is too hot and all of that. Green beans with bacon and sliced almonds, chopped salad with honey mustard balsamic dressing, pumpkin curry soup. That's optional. Soup can be kind of challenging to serve at Thanksgiving, but I like to have it as an option. And then, of course, I'll have add-ins that go in my salad. I don't always toss it with everything. Now, no Thanksgiving feast is complete without appetizers. And it's super important to plan ahead to know what time your guests are going to be arriving and what time you're going to be serving dinner so that you don't overload them with appetizers and end up with either a bunch of appetizers left over or a bunch of your main course left over because people have filled up on appetizers. So for me, I'm just doing a small batch. I'll have my bacon cheese stuffed dates. I make those and freeze them ahead of time, uncooked, and cook them at the last minute so they're fresh. I have my olive tray, nuts, homemade hummus and veggies, and then my rosemary flaxseed almond flour crackers. And then I'll also probably have some regular crackers, but I have a neighbor who's celiac. I have gluten sensitivity, so I always love to have those options. Wine, a cocktail of the season, non-alcoholic beverages, water, coffee, tea, etc. For the delicious dessert part, I have a gluten-free pumpkin cheesecake that I will be making ahead of time and freezing, a flourless chocolate cake, avocado chocolate mousse, and then I always like to do a dark cacao chocolate drizzled nuts and berries. Yes, you will see a very common chocolate theme here, but what can I tell you? I'm a chocolate holic. And then, of course, my bonus is I'll be showing you how to make coconut whipped cream. All right, so let's talk about that month-long preparation for getting yourself organized and making your holiday event as stress-free as possible. So 1 month ahead of time, I like to plan my menu and my appetizers, as I've already done here. As I mentioned, I'm going to determine my guest arrival and dinner time so that the appetizers are not overwhelming. I make my grocery list as best I can based off my recipes, all the staples that I need. I check my cabinets and see I don't want to buy a bunch of extra stuff that I already have on hand, my fresh foods. And then I go ahead and shop for those staples and freezables ahead of time, anything that I can get ahead of time that will stay as fresh as possible so that I'm not fighting the crowds in the grocery store. Then I plan to cook ahead to freeze items, and I put all that on my calendar so I know each day of the month ahead of time what I'm going to be doing so that it breaks it up. And I do a lot of that as I'm making dinner or cooking anyway, prepping food anyway. I just do a little bit of extra work for the holidays. And then I always buy a turkey breast ahead of time. I cook it, we go ahead and eat it, or I freeze it. And then I save the drippings and make the stock out of that so that I have that ahead of time for my gravy. What I typically do with my turkey drippings for the most part from this year's turkey is I will process those, freeze those, and then I will use those in soups and stocks throughout the year. All right, so and then depending on what type of turkey you want to get, I like to buy a fresh organic turkey. I'm super picky about that, but whatever you plan to have, know ahead of time. Purchase it. If you buy a frozen turkey, you can purchase it ahead of time again, if you have room in your freezer, but just plan ahead for that. And then buy any produce that can be sliced, diced, and frozen, such as onions, celery, carrots, red peppers. And then begin to use and clean out your freezer and refrigerator for space. So again, at the beginning of the month, I go through and look at everything that I have in there. I order from Butcher Box Meats, so I always have meat. I make sure that I get those cleaned out as best I can, figure out what the date my next order is going to come. But I want to make sure I have as much freezer and refrigerator space as possible. So now we're up to 2 weeks before. And again, I might be doing a lot of things in the process of those 2 weeks between the month-long planning and the second week. It could be, slicing and dicing all those vegetables, but this is just a game plan for you. So 2 weeks ahead of time, I cook my soup and I freeze it, and I make my rosemary, flaxseed, almond flour cracker dough, and I freeze that unbaked. I make my bacon dates, get them all ahead prior to cooking. I freeze those. I'll make my pumpkin cheesecake and freeze it. Now you see why it's important to clear out that freezer space. I make my chocolate berries and nuts. I drizzle those and I get those frozen in containers so that it's simple to bring those out. And that's my 2 week ahead of time plan. Now we're getting into 1 week before. This is when I'm going to make sure that I buy my fresh turkey, or I order it, or I have it pre-ordered for pickup. Now, what you want to do typically is allow 3/4 to 1 pound per person who's going to be attending your festivities. I also now plan and shop for any table settings that I need and any decorations. And this is the time when I really decide on the serving style, and that's typically based on the number of people I'm going to be serving. Do I want to do buffet style? Yes, almost always I do buffet style. Do I want to do family style where it's in, big dishes and we sit around and pass it around the table? That's not my preference. Although if I have a small group, anywhere from 4 to 8 people, maybe 10, I will do that. Or do I want to do seated, plated style? That typically puts you and 1 or 2 of your guests to work. It's a little more challenging. And then, of course, there's the potluck option, which is typically a part of how we do it, or I do it here, a buffet potluck style. And then I'm going to make that final grocery shopping list. What did I forget over the last couple of weeks that I absolutely need? I'm going to shop for any essential holiday equipment. And that could be specific serving dishes that you want or need, cooking items, a carving knife, make sure your knives are sharpened, just different things like that. Now we are less than 1 week ahead of time. So the Saturday before, that's when I go through my cabinets. I choose my dishes, my glassware, tablecloths, napkins, serving dishes, and utensils. If I have space in my home, which fortunately I do, I will bring all that out. I will wash all of it, and then I will, cover it so that it doesn't still get dusty and set it aside in a convenient place. A lot of times that is my dining room table because I'm not going to be using my dining room table prior to Thanksgiving. My husband and I eat at the bar or we eat at our kitchen table. And then I make sure again that I have a sharpened carving knife. Now it's the Monday before. What are we going to do? We complete any grocery shopping for produce, fresh herbs, appetizer vegetables, any fresh foods that you need, and any missing items. I store my herbs in glass jars in water in the refrigerator so that they stay fresher longer and they're not covered in plastic and getting any of those microplastics in them. I organize my refrigerator, cleaning it out as best I can to make extra room for the turkey and different things as I'm making them through this week that don't need to be frozen. I'm going to defrost my turkey stock, which has been pre-made. I'm going to cook my garbanzo beans to make my hummus fresh, and I'll refrigerate that. And then I'll make my avocado mousse and freeze it if I haven't done that already. Avocado mousse freezes beautifully. Then on Tuesday, I'm going to reheat the stock and make the gravy and put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to cook any bacon, any meats, any veggies for any of my condiments, anything that I need for appetizers, my salad, any of that type stuff. I'm going to slice and boil my potatoes for my mashed potatoes, drain those and refrigerate those. And did you know that cooling potatoes, which typically can have a high glycemic load in your system, when you chill those and then reheat them, it lowers the glycemic index tremendously. So that's just a little tip for all year round. I'm going to slice up all my hummus vegetables, put them in a glass jar, store them in the refrigerator. I'm going to defrost my rosemary cracker dough and get it ready to roll out and then slice and bake. And then any other appetizers, I make sure they're in the refrigerator to defrost. Then on Wednesday, the day before, I get my turkey totally prepped. Any herbs, lemons, oranges, chopped onions, celery, anything I'm going to stuff inside my turkey. I don't personally stuff my turkey with stuffing. I know that's a personal decision. If you do, great. It's just not a thing for me. It grosses me out. I'm just going to be totally honest. Not that there's anything wrong with it. That's just me. So I prepare my turkey, I season it, and then I put it in the refrigerator. I toss my salad and get everything ready for that, cover it. I make the dressing. I store it in my glass dressing jar that I use, and then I get any add-ins ready. For instance, I'll be doing toasted pumpkin seeds, probably some feta cheese, and some dried cranberries that will go in my salad. I put those in little dishes. I get those all ready, and then I allow my guests to dress their salad the way that they want it. I'm going to go ahead and cook and prepare my green beans, get those ready. And then I'm going to bake my rosemary crackers. The beautiful thing about rosemary crackers, once they're baked, they can sit out. They don't have to be refrigerated. In fact, they're better when they sit out. And then I bake my flourless chocolate cake and either refrigerate it or often I just leave it out on the counter. It can stay on the counter. It'll be totally fine since I'm serving it the next day. If I haven't already bought fresh flowers the Wednesday before, I will do that. Honestly, I probably typically do that the Monday or Tuesday before just because I don't want it to be picked over. I chill any wines. I make the water bottles to get that all ready to go. I set my table. I get my buffet as set up as best I can, and I arrange my serving pieces, my platters, anything that I'm going to specifically be using. And then very often I'll put a little stick-it on each dish, which designates what's going to go in it so that in the heat of the moment, I don't forget. And then I can also guide any of my guests who want to help out where to deliver each of the dishes. I organize coffee and tea, and then I literally kind of plan out my schedule for the next day. Now, Thanksgiving Day is when it gets tricky. I'm one of those people that gets up every night in the middle of the night to use the facilities. And this is how I manage my turkey. My mom taught me this years ago. It's something that she tried that she had seen on I'm going to say Good Morning America years ago, but she started putting our turkey in the oven at 2 in the morning on 250 degrees, breast down with the foil tint over it. And then she would just simply check it when she would wake up. Around 10 in the morning, she would flip it breast side up, take the foil off, and again, slow cook it. You have to watch it, continue to baste it, and keep it really moist and juicy. But I will tell you, I have not had a dry turkey since I've started cooking it this way, and people rave about it. And then you can simply turn it off about 2 hours before dinner, let it sit and cool for an hour, and then slice and place on the serving platters. And then you can put it back in a warm oven. Now, if you're really bold and you want to do things the way the restaurants do them, cook the turkey starting Wednesday morning. You don't have to get up at 2 in the morning to do this. Starting Wednesday morning, cook it all day on low, do the same process, and then you can literally let it sit, cool. You can carve it, get it all laid out beautifully, put it in the refrigerator. You can process all your drippings and all your leftovers, and you can even process the carcass, which I really encourage you to keep so that you can make amazing soup stock and bone broths to use later. And when it's cooled and done like this, it's much easier to work with. And I will tell you, you waste a whole lot less of your expensive turkey meat. And I say expensive, especially if you've purchased an organic pasture-raised turkey like I like to do. 2 hours before your guests arrive, arrange your bar, fill water glasses, set out wine glasses, any beverage glasses that you'll be using. Bake your bacon wrap dates so they're fresh and taste perfect. Put out appetizers, your nuts and olives, your crackers, hummus, veggies, etc. 1 hour before, I'm going to put the stuffing in the oven. I'm going to reheat and mash my potatoes. I'm going to reheat the gravy and add fresh drippings from the turkey. I'm going to put that in a serving dish. I'm going to warm my green beans in the oven along with my stuffing. I'm going to toss my salad, bring out the dressings, the sides, and then I'm going to warm up and get my soup ready. I do buffet style, so each guest who wants soup can ladle it up and serve themselves. And then I'm going to plate all the food and arrange it buffet style. About 30 to 45 minutes before you're ready to serve dessert is when you want to defrost your avocado mousse, your pie, your cheesecake, whatever it is that you're serving. You want to do that ahead of time. Hopefully, you're doing all this without getting overwhelmed. You find time in there to shower, do your hair, put your makeup on, your fun holiday attire. You're ready to greet your guests and literally enjoy yourself. Go to lowertoxiclife.com, grab my guide for shopping lists and how to read labels and all the good stuff. Again, make sure you're subscribed, as I'm going to be spending the month with you, showing you how to prepare all of these amazing dishes, sharing recipes with you, and sharing the fun and festivities.